everybody, Bo here again. In this video I'm going to be talking about our Cyclone upgrades. I'm going to be talking a little bit about how they work, why they work, and some of the philosophy behind them. The first thing I'm going to do is just a little demonstration of our parts in a Cyclone, including our Vortex Mod, lightning rod, and quick exhaust piston housing, as well as the squishy paddles, although the squishy paddles aren't very important for this little demonstration, and a stock Cyclone housing with all the stock parts. Now I'm going to take these two and push them together, and you'll notice that the stock one actually drives the TechT Cyclone feed. So there's no tricks behind this. This is a just standard operating Cyclone feed, standard stock. I mean, just do it with my pinky here to show you there's no gimmicks or anything. It's, you know, there's nothing harder or anything like that about it, as well as a Cyclone feed with our products in it. And you can tell that the the stock one will actually drive ours without ever operating itself. Now it's pretty close, and I can do it both ways. Now if I push with the with the TechT one, it still cocks the TechT one, and if I push with the stock one, it still cycles the TechT one. Now that happens for a couple different reasons. I'm going to start off with the Vortex Mod. The stock ratchet system is a plastic ratchet system that has some very squared off gears. You can tell those gears are not super effective. They're kind of square and not very smooth. Whereas with the TechT Cyclone feed, the gears are a little bit more rounded off, as you can see, and are smooth up against the ratchet. So that's what causes us to be able to do this. That smoother action is what allows us to be able to operate so much easier than the stock one. The second contributing factor to that would be the lightning rod or piston rod. The stock one is plastic and bends, whereas ours is aluminum and does not bend, and also has a brass bearing in there, a brass washer, if you will. So the importance behind that is there's 850 pounds, if not more, driving that Cyclone feed system. 850 pounds comes behind the seal and drives all that. Well, you're going to lose some of your torque if that 850 pounds bends this rod before it does anything. So you're losing some of your torque, as well as it's just not very durable. Whereas the aluminum one, you're not going to lose any of your torque. That power is directed straight down the shaft, straight into the cocking mechanism, or the ratchet mechanism, if you will, as opposed to losing any of its torque or any of its power through this flex. So I'm also going to do a second part of the test. But before I do that, I want to explain a little bit about the way that the quick exhaust piston housing works. On a stock housing, and even some of the other housings, they have no holes, or maybe just one or two little holes. And the way that this thing works is when you fire your gun, air comes from the valve through the hose, through the small barb, and drives the piston forward, like what we were just talking about with the lightning rod. Well, that piston catches on the seal that's on the end of the rod, on the stock one or on ours, catches on this seal and presses it forward to cock everything, and then the spring presses it back. Well, on the way back, that air has to go somewhere. We've just filled this tube with air to drive it forward. So we're at the resting position here. We fill the tube with air and it catches on this seal and pushes this forward. Well, now a spring wants to push it back. The question is where does that air go? On a stock piston housing, that air is forced back through this hose and wants to go back up to the valve. So if you're firing at a high rate of fire, you have a conflicting air there. Air wants to go one way and the other way, and it really limits the speed of the Cyclone. With the quick exhaust piston housing, that air comes forward and drives the piston forward, but then is exhausted right there, and there's no pressure whatsoever for it to come back on. There's zero pressure. It's just all vented out of these holes. So it really increases the speed of the Cyclone. So I'm going to do a second test. On the next test, I'm going to hook it up to a digital gauge and show you how much lower of a pressure our Cyclone operates as opposed to the stock one. But again, I just wanted to show you guys this quick little demonstration where I can take the stock Cyclone housing and drive the TechT Cyclone housing.